it's unreal the level of connectedness that it's not even through social networks, it's through personal networks that we're seeing things like that now instantaneously. It's very different. But I mean, even I remember my dad telling me that on 9/11 there was all sorts of stories of different attacks, and there was bridges were being evacuated all over the place because there was reports of truck bombs, and I mean, it seems like every time there's a shooting, there's always reports of a second or a third shooter when they're out there, and it seems like the nature of these events is that there's always going to be all these superfluous reports, and whether it's social media that's pushing them or traditional media that's pushing them, it sort of seems like the nature of chaos.
Yeah, but for me, it's like it's not the nature, but it's the degree to which it can be circulated and the degree to which it's accepted, which is really alarming. Because whereas in the past, you had to, and look, this goes back a bit further than that. I mean, look, Dewey defeats Truman, right? Misinformation and a rush to judgment on the part of the media is certainly nothing new. What's new to me in this age of hysteria and in this this post 9/11 age and this age of social media, it's the perfect storm of people being scared, people looking for information, and people with ease spreading information.
Well, what really interested me was that the national media coverage and the hyper focus and hysteria that the entire nation sort of was undergoing for those 3-4 days after matched almost what I would imagine was going on in Boston, maybe to a less personal extent. But it just shocked me that the entire nation picked it up as their story, and it was being talked about, and it's still being talked about. We're talking about it now for people unaffected. So yes, there's been misreports in history, but it's very interesting now how like terrorism and bombings and that sort of threat to domestic security has become a rallying cry for the entire nation, no matter where it is.
If you look at what happened on Friday in Cambridge and in Watertown, the city, I tried to get to Boston on Friday. They shut down the entire city of Boston and lost X million dollars in GDP. Literally a lockdown on one of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States. Nobody could leave their house. Entire transit systems, roads, everything closed to hunt for two men. Yeah. So everybody could have been just going about their business, and it's totally shattered by a fugitive.
There's 6,000 law enforcement looking for one guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
The power of these few people to shape like an entire nation and the psyche of an entire
Terrorism
nation.
Works.
Terrorism works. Like, did they win with, like, what was their goal,
I think that's going to be, I think it really remains to be seen what the discussion in our country is going to be and what inevitably the policy responses are. So whether we're going to go about our normal business or whether we're going to create, a state where we don't trust anyone and we can't go about our daily business. Listen, our government has been incredible this past week. The American people have been incredible. It's the American media that, to me, has a real lesson to learn in terms of their restraint and their respect.
I mean, this is why, whether it's politics or whatever, the media is not necessarily left-leaning or right-leaning by and large, outside of a few stations. But what it is it's it's driven by sort of disaster almost.
And sensationalism.
Exactly. Sensationalism is the best word. And that's the bias that the media has, is towards sensationalism. And when one producer hears one thing from one source, instead of ensuring that 2 or 3 people corroborate that source, they just run with it. If we are going to be able to tune in almost immediately and start hearing reports through Twitter or through any sort of social media of something that's going on, there needs to be somebody who sifts through it and makes a decision. And whoever that we don't know who that person is, but we do know they don't work at CNN.
Yeah.